First of all, what's your name again?
My name is Paul Kezar, and I live here with my wife Janine. And I have two daughters. I have Josie, who's 6, and I have Macy, who's 9.
How long have you lived at this location?
I've been back here. This is my home place. I grew up here. My dad built this home when I was 5. It was in 1975 or so. Lived out here till 1990 when I graduated from high school. I came back for one more summer in 91, and then went on to college, and I haven't been back really living here until just last year, 2007, after my mom passed away.
How long ago did the dairy originally locate here?
Back in the middle 90s is when it first came in. I want to say 95 to 97. I don't quote me on those dates.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home and seeing them building the facility over there. And, everybody was kind of a neat business coming in. It's a dairy. This has been back quite a few years ago, this is quite a big dairy area.
Sure.
I grew up with my neighbors over here about 2 miles away. I worked on their dairy farm since I was 7. I think it was pretty well accepted. The county board of Marshall County at that time, I think, was all for it. It was economic growth for the county. When it first started, it was a pretty good thing, I think.
Sure. And the original owners, the people who originally built the dairy, what was their intention as to the number of cows that they were planning?
I think at that time it was a one barn, somewhere around 500 cows.
Okay.
And that seemed big to a lot of people around here. That was new tech dairy.
Sure.
But
when you say new tech, what is it? How does that compare to the one that you worked on?
I call it assembly line dairy. Where I grew up, and the way we did our milking, our cows were our pets almost, and they'd go out to pasture in the morning. We'd bring them in for milking. We'd go out and call their names. They'd come in. They knew which stanchions to go into. We'd talk to them. We'd feed them. And then when we got done, they'd go back out to pasture. They had all kinds of acres to roam. And then again, at about 5:30, we'd call them back in. It was easy. They were like having a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
This was more, the way it had been explained to us was, when I called it new tech dairy, it was assembly line dairy, bringing them in, holding them in stanchions for long periods of time, milking them 2-3 times a day, which I just didn't quite understand that. I didn't understand the concept, really.
And at that time, though, nobody was opposed to the dairy when this new one came in.
I don't think anybody was too opposed to it because I don't think anybody had all the information.
Okay, and then once that one was established, was there problems with the original owners?
Absolutely. That was the place. Within a short amount of time, became a fantastic mess. The smell that was starting to come from the lagoon was just unbearable. Here I'm sitting, as the crow flies, I'm sitting a mile northwest of that property, and when my mom and dad were here, they would call me on the phone and say, "Oh, you wouldn't believe how horrible this dairy farm is. It's driving us into the house. We can't be outside." My mom and dad were huge gardeners, and they loved to be out here. Here I have 7 acres of lawn. My dad loved being out in his shed that he built here in the humongous garden, and they couldn't be out here. My mom has flower beds all over here that she grew. They couldn't be. It was just unbearable for them.
So, Paul, what happened to that dairy?
Eventually, that dairy went out of business, is what I was told. It was poorly run. It was poorly managed. It was not employing the amount of people that they said it would employ. It just fell apart.
Well, how many people did they say it was going to employ originally?
I think originally they were talking upwards of 30 people or more. But not only that, it would also support the community around here, that farmers could grow hay and they would buy hay and grain and things like that. And really, it maybe supported one farmer that I can think of. Everybody kind of started peeling away from it because it just was giving them a bad taste. It just didn't seem like it was. It just wasn't a well-run facility, and nobody wanted to take part in that.
So it closed down, and then how long did it stay closed down?
It stayed closed down for a couple of years, I want to say. It started back up a couple of years ago.
So did they have to, can I ask this question, did they have to apply for another permit with the state?
Yeah, I believe so. And they went from, I don't even know what they came in at, but I want to say started up with around 1,000 cows. And then it grew, and then now they're at 1,500 cows, and they've had permits, and now they want to go to 2,000 cows. I've been told that the manager of this facility has, I've been told that you can't, in his words, you can't make enough money unless you're at least 2,000 units or 2,000 cows. You can't make enough money at it. It's not profitable. And I just can't imagine right now, well, first of all, their permits aren't being allowed because the facility is completely a mess again. Picture your septic tank at your house being open in your yard and just open to your family. Can you imagine what that would smell like? If anyone's been around a septic tank when it's been pumped, take that times about 10. And that's about what you have on the days when the wind turns and blows to your property. And I am not kidding you, it will knock you down to your knees. This is hydrogen sulfide. For years now we've thought we've just been dealing with a bad odor, and now we've become educated on this, which most people aren't. And here we have hydrogen sulfide levels that my children shouldn't be even nearby, even a fraction of what we've been getting readings on. And putting my family really in harm's way. And here I am, I'm a mile and a half from this facility. Never dreamt that this could be a health issue, a nuisance thing or an inconvenience. Like my parents, they were the type of people that they put up with a lot. They didn't like to stir the pot with things. They just dealt with it. But if they would have known what they were breathing in, I think they maybe would have reacted differently too. And now that's what the neighborhood is doing.